Hi everyone, it's Helen Kelly with Wayne County Human Services. I do work out in the Pocono Lab in our COC. And today in this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to go and do a note within coordinated entry. There's a few different ways to do notes. It's all the exact same process. You can just access it from different points within the system, depending on what you're comfortable with and depending on what screen you're already in. If you are in the queue already, so right here, go to that person, and right here, add, create, intake note. It's that simple. You would just go through the process there, which I'll take you through in a minute. You can go to intake notes log to see a running list of everyone's notes. Coordinated intake notes right there with like the little pin. I'll show you. This is not a running list. This is more an itemized highlight reel list. So each note is broken out. And this is where you would go to either edit or delete one of your own notes. So you put something in that shouldn't have been in there. It was for someone else or whatever the case may be. You put the wrong date in. You're going to go here to do that. Once you're in here, you can also add a note from this screen. But going back to this way, just adding a note from within the queue, go to add, create an intake note. Okay, you're going to want to choose the date that the interaction occurred. So let's say you met with someone on a Friday afternoon. You couldn't get to doing the note right away. It was Monday morning. You went in Monday morning to do the note. You're not going to do the note for Monday. You'll pick Friday as the date. Okay, from there, there's some drop downs that trigger some other drop downs. So general information and communications or direct client contact are your two options here. For direct client contact, you then get to choose what type of direct client contact you had. For general information, you then get to choose what kind of general information you had. So whether it truly was general, like let's say someone's on the CQ, but they happen to be in your shelter and you know that they are going to be maxing out that shelter within 2 weeks. You might be able to go in then, or should go in and do that so that other providers are aware of that timeline. Agency to agency communications would be more like, let's say I am reaching out to a shelter because I know somebody is there. I want to get a handle on what that timeline looks like and coordinating our intake with them and things of that nature if I'm an RRH provider. So then I would choose agency to agency communications. And then put that note in. And then also the last option is when there's a status change, because every time there's a status change, there has to be a note that goes with that. So status changes would be taking anyone from new to anything else, or from any other status to any other status. So that would be any combination of new, reviewed, engaging, verifying, enrolled, closed, all things like that would get a note just like that. Okay. For this, I think I'll just do client to client. Let's say by phone to client. The subject line, you want this to be concise and to the point, something that pushes the ball forward. So I wouldn't necessarily want to say called client here. That might be true, but what happened? Did I leave a message? Was an intake scheduled? Something so that if someone were to look at this at first glance, they would be able to see like what the end result was of that. So I'm going to say intake scheduled. And I might even do the date. So let's say for, I don't know, 6/25. Okay. So then we don't even have to open the note to see when the intake was scheduled. Like it's just going to be right there. Okay. So, spoke with client, and I said we were doing this, at the end of the day on a Friday. So, spoke with client at 4 p.m. They are currently living in car at Park Street Park. They are willing to engage with services and seem to meet ability as of right now. Scheduled for 9 a.m. 6:25 with our RRH program. Okay, so this is pretty detailed, but it only took a couple of sentences. The reason being why we have these details, there's a couple of reasons. When we want a paper trail. We don't know who's going to be picking up the ball next. Perhaps I have every intention of doing this intake, but if this person is a no-show, I might maybe have additional outreach resources in our county where then they can then go and find the person. Well, where are they going to find the person? We need to know their last known location. So it's really important that this is detailed, and the notes should really do one of probably about 3 things if you're looking at it in relation to the note prior to it. One is that it adds information. So if the note prior was really vague and it just said this person is homeless, and actually I could add Park Street Park in. So let's say the note was pretty general, like I said prior, and it just said that the person was homeless, but it didn't say like why they were homeless, like were they sheltered, were they unsheltered, what was their location. That doesn't really give anyone a whole lot to go on, and hopefully we see less and less of those kinds of notes. So if we find out information, we want to be able to add to the note that was prior with our content. Let's say the person's situation changed from the note prior. We want to notate that. So maybe they were in their car last time, but they were at a different park. So that's important for us to know, especially if we have outreach workers or if we're going to be going, to that person to be doing that intake and trying to engage with them. Or the other thing that it could do is it could just maintain that status quo, that person was in that situation then, and they're in the same exact situation now. So when we're talking with them, we always want to kind of ask, has your situation changed at all? Where were you? Like, where did you sleep last night? Because as we're talking to them, if we find out that they're actually couch surfing or they started staying with family or whatever the case may be, that actually triggers a whole other kind of note, which would then indicate that we're removing that person from the queue because they are not homeless anymore. But that we did let them know that they should certainly call back or go to their access site if their situation should change in the future. So we want to have all of that documented in the note. Aside from the location and what their situation, the other things that we're looking for in the note, I didn't write it in here. I said they appear to be eligible. But we might want to say confirmed with them that they do have a diagnosis and are in treatment, or that they don't have a diagnosis. Whatever information, if you find it beneficial for your agency to know one way or the other, another agency might be able to as well, because you could have every intention, like I said, of serving them, but you never know what's going to happen. Someone else might have to pick up that ball. And the more information they have, the better. No need to duplicate efforts. If you already found something out, there's no need for someone else to try and find that out as well. We do want to have dates whenever possible, so that we know, especially like I would say, like let's say we're doing a scrub call, and the last note was 2 weeks ago, and this person was supposed to have an intake on 6/25. So at the scrub call, that's a really good time, right, to kind of say, well, what happened with that intake? Did they come in? Did they not come in? Usually it's just a matter of, forgetting, but it's a good way to kind of help connect those dots, where then the case manager could say, oh yeah, they did come in and we're doing our second intake and everything is going to be scheduled. And we have tomorrow they're coming in. Okay, so go in, we'll do that note and kind of connect those dots. The other clarification that I find, or that we all kind of find to be really helpful, is if you're doing an intake, or saying someone isn't eligible for certain one of your programs, that you indicate what program or which program. Many of us wear many different hats. So in doing that, we kind of let others know where someone kind of stands with our programming. Someone could say enrolling, but if someone has, if they're just enrolling in shelter, meanwhile someone is thinking that that person is actually enrolling into their RRH program, like they're two very different things and they mean different things. So we want to be able to verify in the note what the program type is that is responding in this way in the note. So that's another suggestion. Once you do your note, you can actually send it as an email. So let's say you have 2 intake workers in your office, they alternate on and off. One intake worker might send it to the other one just so that they know, like, okay, this is the situation, we have this scheduled. You can also send an email directly back to the call specialist, perhaps, that triggered the CQ placement. Let's say there's some questions that you have regarding that person. You can put that all in here. So instead of doing a note that's saying, we'll be reaching out to specialists to get more info, that could actually be in the note. You could write the information that you're looking for and maybe get it all kind of resolved within the HMIS environment and all attached to that person. So I'm going to send this email just as an example. Go ahead and I save it. Once I save it, this will populate. I will send it. Okay. Okay, and then it'll come through any minute. Once you save it, it does save. This screen will not go away in this screen within the queue. Rest assured your note has been saved. So after you save it, then you can hit cancel and get rid of that screen. Now, I did let you know there was another way to do notes. It's the same process, but a different location. If you go here, review community queue record, I wouldn't say that there's the email. I wouldn't encourage you really to go to the record to do a note if that's all you want to do, since you could just do it right here. But let's say you're already in the queue record for something, like you wanted to get their phone number or whatever the case may be. Okay, so from here, you can also see that you have the option to see the notes log, which is that running list, or the coordinated intake notes. And this is, again, that itemized list, that note that I just put in to show you, okay, is there. And then from here, you would just add community list note. And it's the same exact thing as before. Okay, so that's technically how you go about doing the notes, and also hopefully some pointers on the types of information that we want to be seeing in the notes, so that everyone can kind of stay on the same page and figure out how to best serve the people that are looking to us for help. Okay, so that's all I have for that, and thank you so much. Have a great day.